Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time doing another Disney film review, and this one is on the 1990 short film, The Prince and the Pauper. Now, as you know, The Prince and the Pauper was a 1990 animated comedy action adventure short film, which, was also directed by George Screenborough, who also, did Oliver and Company, and the short film was meant to be released with Rescuers Down Under. And my best thoughts about looking back at it now, I think it was a short film that had potential to be a feature-length film, but got squandered. So the premise of the short film is meant to take place in London, England, in the mid-16th century, where we see how Pete has controlled the kingdom by manipulation, and we kind of see how because of the king becoming ill, we see how Pete has terrorized the kingdom as well as the country in the king's name, and we see how Mickey Mouse ends up meeting the prince of the kingdom, and of course we see how the prince comes up with this ludicrous idea to swap places. And right away, we know what this typical Prince and the Pauper story is going to be. It's going to have Mickey and the Prince both wanting to have this amazing life, but of course, there always comes a consequence to it. And I think for the most part, it has some good ideas that I think do work. I think for the most part, having Wayne Allwyn actually voice Mickey and the Prince does work, because when he has to be Mickey Mouse, he has to be Mickey Mouse. He has to sound like this guy who's a bit down on his luck, but has to kind of accept some of the responsibilities. But I think when he has to voice the Prince, he has to sound like a bit more sophisticated, a bit more upbeat, a little more having to experience a bit more harder. And I think voice actors can fit their characters' counterparts done right, as they know what they're supposed to be. Because I kind of think, to me, the best example is Chris Hemsworth when he did Transformers 1. Because when he has to voice Orion, he has to play this young, unexperienced leader. But over the film, you see him build up his voice to sound like a bit more of this wise, understanding, and a bit more of this guy who understands the sort of corruption now. And I think it's also kind of like looking at Nancy Cartwright, because there are moments where Bart can be a bit of a troublemaker, but there are times where, she has to sound like Bart being a bit more trying to handle the situation, trying to be the voice of reason. And I think what the film gets right at is actually showing the Prince starting to see the consequences of what Pete has done. And you really do get this sense he now understands the consequences of everything that he's done, as well as Pete. And this is the Prince understanding the consequences of being too selfish and greedy. And I think for the most part, it's a shame we never got this film as a feature-length thing. And it's a shame too, Disney are known for making mistakes and never want to admit it, because they rushed Power Rangers as a product, they cancelled the Owl House too early, they butchered Star Wars, they also do pointless Disney live-action films based on their past animated stuff that doesn't always work out. And this is a shame, because I think Disney have the potential, but they just keep seeing things as golden tickets, or just keep making mistakes. And it's a shame too. And it's something that even I noticed a bit as a kid growing up, because there was a lot of promising stuff Disney had, but it always got butchered and squandered. And it's a shame, because they have every opportunity to straighten up and fly right, but they always crash down. So, in my point of view, The Prince and the Pauper is a good idea that just needed to be a feature-length film. And it's a shame, because I think with 25 minutes, you really get this sense they had to kind of rushed with everything that they had to. They had to get everything done quickly. So I think this film definitely deserves a thumbs in the middle. Kind of alright, and kind of okay. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.